Cullen live in 1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Are we really? We're going?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I just got it. Literally, I've been here for 20 seconds. People, I don't understand why the traffic gets bad when there's like a smattering of snow on the ground. I don't get that. I had to take my car in today, downtown rather than the bus, and jeez. Oh, wow. Sorry, just catching up on my email. Hi, by the way, good morning. Did I say that? Paul wrote, I went to look for the 4802 video on YouTube. It's on YouTube? And it was highly edited. And it's only 13 minutes. Your confrontation with Bill is totally edited out. You're saying hell is completely edited out, as is a huge chunk of other topics that were discussed. The video has the video at their website has the complete show. Yeah, okay, so I don't know what gets posted on YouTube. Oh, it said it's uploaded by someone named Lenny McAllister and is heavily edited. I didn't even know, in fact, that they put that out there. Did you see the story? This is my favorite weather story of all the crazy things that go on in this kind of weather. The story about the pregnant woman in Philly. Did you see that? Oh, God. Pregnant woman in Philly, a due date coming right up. She and her husband live on a hill, and her husband, Fabian, who's a very practical man, got concerned because their car, the only car they have, in snow is lousy and doesn't even make it up the hill to the house. So he has to park the car down and walk. Well, his wife is overdue, and he's wondering, what if Shirley goes into labor? And what? And we're going to have to, she's going to have to walk all the way down the hill to get to the car? So here's what he did. He goes and buys one of those sleds, those inexpensive, just plastic sleds. His happened to be neon green. And he bought one of those, and he thought, if worse comes to worse, she can lie down on that, and I'll, push her, I guess, pull her, whatever, down the hill. And so, exactly as he had feared, the worst case scenario occurs. She goes into labor, and it's snowing gangbusters outside. So he got her in the sled, and they're heading down the hill on the sled, and she says, "The baby's coming. The baby's coming." This woman gave birth to a 7-pound, 9-ounce healthy daughter, now named Bella, while lying on a sled in the middle of the street.
Oh my God.
Is that something? About a foot of snow had fallen. Temperatures, the wind chill was 15 below. This is 6 o'clock in the morning. And her husband, the ever practical Fabian, who had just bought that sled, delivered the baby on the sled. The mother, Shirley, says, I mean, my body just pushed the baby out. It happened so fast. And what happened is, let me see. People came out of their house. People became aware, I guess. I'm a little unclear on that. A neighbor got on the phone and called 911. And meanwhile, the baby was just coming. And after the baby just came, a neighbor ran into a house, grabbed some blankets, wrapped up the baby, wrapped up the mother. By the time the ambulance came, I mean, everybody was fine. And she said it was a real nice way to get to meet the neighbors because they'd never even talked to them before. And what a way to meet the neighbors. So, I mean, I've heard of people being born in cars on the way to a hospital and things like that, but on a sled in the middle of the road in Philadelphia during a snowstorm. I love that. What a story those guys have for the rest of their lives. Wonderful. So that was my biggie. And I'm sorry if I seem sort of tentative. It's because literally I have not unpacked my... I just sat down when the show started. So let me get my act together. Woo! So are you excited that we're heading into this unbelievable sub-zero weather? I think excited's probably the wrong word, but I think it's sort of fascinating to experience extremes of weather. And if you sort of look at it like that, in a detached way, it sometimes becomes a little easier. That's just one of my Oh, this is funny. Here's a letter from someone in Auburn, New York. I have talked about the fact before that I share a name, Lynn Cullen, with a very respected writer, Lynn Cullen, who used to write children's books, but I don't know that this one is, but it's really taken off. And Lynn Cullen's most recent novel is called Mrs. Poe, P-O-E, as in Edgar Allan. And I cannot tell you how many people, you see it too, follow they think I'm Lynn Cullen. Well, I mean, I am, but they follow me, they tweet me. Now here, I just got an email from somebody. I am presently reading your novel and am finding it so fascinating. I can barely put it down. I can't wait to read some of your other wonderful books. I am employed at the William H. Seward House Museum as a tour guide. If you ever get the opportunity, please visit us. William Seward, of course, was Abraham Lincoln's Secretary of State. Many authors, such as yourself, have visited the museum, such as Doris Kearns Goodwin, also President and Mrs. 'Clinton, and Sarah Palin. You would love the house, and who knows, it may give you some ideas for another novel. Keep up the great work. Best wishes, Joyce, Auburn, New York. Well, Joyce, thank you. I love the fact that you love my book. I wonder if this other Lynn Cullen gets any, rants from people that, who want to, wring my neck. And she said, what the heck? Where is this coming from? I once tried to get in touch with her, and I think I've told you this before, because if you Google Lynn Cullen, there's me, there's her, and there's another woman, doesn't get as much as the novelist and I, but is a marine biologist in Scotland. And this is years and years ago, I thought, oh, what a riot. I should just do a show with all the Lynn Cullens. So I got in touch with the marine biologist in Scotland, explained who I was, and she emailed back, that sounds like so much fun, I'd love to. And then I tried to get in touch with the author of Mrs. Poe, and she would not write back or anything. So I gave it up. Maybe I should try once more. Maybe I tell her, we'll sell a book or two for you. Mm-hmm. Maybe. Sorry, guys. I have so many emails here that I haven't had an opportunity. Can we go through them together? Here's Joseph on his old Snowies. By the way, I used my Snowies 4 times this weekend. And every time I blessed it. Oh, the Snowies gods, thank you. Yes, it's so easy. Joseph writes, I must be psychic because right after ordering a new Snowies on Amazon last week, my old one broke Saturday. How did they break? The metal cap on one end of the metal bar that holds plastic air popped off and I couldn't get it back on. But I guess that's okay because I certainly got my money's worth out of it. Now I can't wait to get my new one. I hate winter, he adds. Aw, winter can't help being winter. It's not easy being winter. Don't hate it. I was talking to Michael Ferraro, who owned a Pleasant Present, his store was the only purveyor of Snowies, and I told him how, well, it's happening again, Michael. The Snowies, all we need is a little weather, and every year it comes back up. And I said, but I'm hearing some people say their Snowies are breaking. He said, oh, no. If that bolt comes out, he said, you can, easy to fix. You just go get another one and pop it. He said, pop it in. He was able to do that. But I don't know. Mike writes, I've used the snow removal device you raved about years ago for years. My neighbors are jealous and would like to get their own. How would they get one? Amazon.com. The Snowies. Ain't that great? Well, okay. I'm missing some, but I just was have to. So that's that. And remember the other day when I was talking about how I took a cooking class? This has to be almost 30 years ago. And it was downtown here in the Coppers building. And I took it with Sally Wiggin. Sally Wiggin and I both decided we wanted to learn how to cook Chinese food. And so we went, and we were just stunned because the first class, we learned how to make a dish in which the protein was Spam. Ew. And when that Chinese woman teacher put a can of Spam on the counter, I'm sure I looked at Sally. I didn't look at anybody else in the class, but I'm sure everybody was like, what? Well, lo and behold, there is a front page story on Spam and the love that people in South Korea have of Spam. Apparently, I'm wondering, do you think that Chinese cooking class was really a South Korean cooking class? Because South Korea, it turns out, is the spammiest loving country on the globe. They can't get enough of it. And here's the weird thing. It's considered a very sort of high-end food. So I guess we're heading into the Lunar New Year. Excuse me. The Lunar New Year. And the custom is to give gifts, fine gifts to friends for the new year. And like department stores stock these, beautifully gift-wrapped boxes that have in them rare herbal teas, perhaps a bottle of imported wine, and 2 cans of Spam. And they make no apologies about it. Spam is something that is considered a classy gift that you would give to somebody who you really wanted to let know they were a special person. And as somebody, I think, pointed out, one of you, the love of Spam, I don't know about in China, it doesn't make as much sense, but in South Korea it does, harkens back to the Korean War, when all those GIs came over, and the GIs and the army ate Spam a lot. I don't know that the GIs loved it, but so it would the South Koreans would every once in a while get a can, and to them it was like finding gold if you could get some Spam, because their country was in this brutal war. There was such privation around. People were hungry. Very little meat to be had. And so Spam became the most sought-after thing because it was the only available meat you could have. And Spam was considered such a luxury then that it was only rich people, powerful people who could, maybe cozy up to some high-ranking American and, get some Spam. So even after we pulled out, of course, the Americans have had and continue. Do we still? Yeah, we must have some. Do we still have some military in South Korea? But for years and years and years. And the Spam kept on coming. Interestingly, there's a sociologist at, where is he? Somewhere. And he wrote an article talking about what is considered high status in various countries, different products and things. And in South Korea, Spam outranked in status Coca-Cola. That's hard to believe. Coca-Cola and KFC. Yes, indeedy. It is, and he noted that it is given as a gift on occasions of importance when one wishes to pay honor and proper respect. Also, a guy who lectures at Yale in Korean studies said this: given Spam's introduction to South Korea through the U.S. military, it enjoyed and still does an association with prosperity and nutritiousness. Because here again, America then was the most prosperous nation. And the South Koreans were a destitute nation. And so if those rich Americans were eating this stuff in the can, why, that must be some pretty special stuff. And if only we, the South Koreans, could ever aspire to be as prosperous as America, we could have Spam whenever we wanted it. So Spam culturally in South Korea is this, and I think spam, they're affronted, and I don't blame them for the way we now Americans scoff and make fun of spam. And I had never really thought. I wonder why. I mean, we think of spam as something unwanted, right? I'm trying to figure out how, on the internet, unwanted email or just, we call it spam. Well, why do we call it spam?
Because it's garbage.
Because it's garbage, says Jess?
Ugh.
Okay. But that is why. So that it is such an absolutely acknowledged negative, low status in the United States. And yet, in the 50s, in South Korea, it was something so special.
It's really big in Hawaii, too.
And it's big in Hawaii. There's something about, and maybe, yeah, I agree. So there's something about the Asian theater in which that's where spam sells. Maintains a mythical aura. So there you have it. They love it with kimchi. They say it goes so well with kimchi and rice. They think we're idiots for not appreciating it. It is, by the way, you wonder what it is? It is surplus pork shoulder, which is obviously ground up and molded. Bleh. So, ain't kosher, tell you that. That ain't kosher. No way. Okay. Did you watch the Grammys? I watched the Grammys just to be brought up to some measure of speed on music going on, and it was it's interesting. There's so much talent in this world. I don't quite get Daft Punk. I don't understand. I like the music. I mean, I just like that music. But with the thing, they're like supposed to be robots. These two guys, they're French, and so they never speak, and you can't see their faces. But I mean, that's just a marketing gimmick. But do they play anything? I don't understand. They sit there with soundboards in front of them. So what are they doing?
I mean, it's electronic.
It's electronic music. So they are actually playing those boards. They are playing with all the, it looks like you got what you have in front of you.
Yeah.
And that's musicianship.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh. And, great, fun music. And Sir Paul McCartney and Ringo Starr, for us old folks, performed. And for us old folks, Willie Nelson did a duet with Chris Christopherson. You love Chris Christopherson? I loved him back in the day. But given a choice between Chris Christopherson and Willie Nelson, I'd go with Willie. They're so old! God! Jeez! Whee. And I must say this about the gowns and what people were wearing. It was just totally respectable. I didn't see anything that wasn't like, yes, that's very lovely. When usually at the Grammys, there's a lot of ridiculousness and outrage and sexual display of a most disturbing kind. So, anyway, I see that it's time for a break. And that will give me an opportunity to actually unpack here and get my head together, okay? Feel free to interact with moi, either verbally, that would be on the telephone at 412-316-3381, or on this World Wide Web at Lynn at pghcitypaper.com. We'll be back.
Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com or call Lynn at 412-316-3381. Lynn Cullen Live will return in a moment.
Download the brand new CP Haps app and find out what's going on in Pittsburgh. It's the fun and free app that puts the most popular events at your fingertips. Text events to 77948 to download now and register to win a Seven Springs overnight getaway, Alton Brown, or Rick Floyd tickets. The CP Haps app, brought to you by Pittsburgh City Paper.
Need to get some rest. This is the worst headache ever.
Right arm's all tingly all of a sudden. Must have slept on it last night.
I keep losing my balance. These old bones need some exercise.
Granddaddy, what you just said doesn't even make sense. It sounds like gibberish.
Signs like these could be more than what they seem. They could be a sign of stroke.
Sudden weakness or numbness of the face, arm, or leg.
Sudden trouble with vision in one or both eyes.
Sudden trouble walking or difficulty with balance.
Or a sudden intense headache that comes out of nowhere.
If you or someone you know has any of these symptoms, don't wait. Call 911 immediately. You could make a difference in someone's life, someone you love, maybe even your own.
Time lost is brain lost.
Find out more at powertoendstroke.org. Brought to you by the American Heart Association, American Stroke Association, and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Once again, here's Lynn Cullen.
Hello. All right, we're back. Oh, here's my quote of the day. This is by Lewis Carroll, noted author and pedophile. I don't know about that, but apparently he had a very strange relationship with Alice and a few other children. Lewis Carroll, and you can't argue with this. If you limit your actions in life to things that nobody can possibly find fault with, you will not do much. But I guess people who subscribe to better safe than sorry would disagree with this. But I agree with him. You don't take risks. If the absolute negator of a potential action is, well, I don't think people would like that, or they wouldn't approve, and then you ain't ever gonna. Then you gonna have a boring life. That's all I'm saying. So I agree with that totally. I came across what I think is the funniest, what do you call this, a blog? Funniest thing on the internet. And I'm going to give you the site. This is only for those of you who know literature or appreciate literature, who, for instance, have read, classics. And I know we've all, at some point in our lives, been forced to read a classic or two. But if you have a measure of appreciation for them, or even if you don't, I don't know, because a lot of people, remember, kids, you go get the Cliff Notes. This guy is apparently a comedian. He goes by the name Sparky Sweets, Ph.D. His real name is Greg Edwards. And he does this takeoff on Masterpiece Theater, sort of, because he posts these little 5-minute, I've never seen one over 5 minutes. And what he does is he sits in his chair and he does a synopsis of, name of Wuthering Heights, Moby Dick, The Scarlet Letter, Crime and Punishment, whatever. And he'll tell the story in 2 minutes in this brilliant way, but also in, what do you call this? In hip hop, kind of. Using that language. Using black urban language. And then, after he tells a story, he goes into this like 2.5 minute analysis of just what that story really meant. And let me tell you, if I'd had access to this stuff when I was having to write term papers, I would have aced out back, forward, and inside out. He's brilliant, but there's something so funny about the delivery and and you got to check it. So the website is Thug. Wait a minute. Where was it? Where is it? Come on! It's my favorite website, and I can't even Thug Notes. Thug-notes.com. Now, if you go do it now, I've lost my audience because you will be blown away. I thought, I can't do 1 million at a time. I did just 2. And then I was so excited that I'd found this thing that I emailed my brother, who is a scholar of much of this stuff, because one of the ones he does is Beowulf. And my brother's an expert on Beowulf because he's an expert on Norse sagas. And I said, check this out. And all I can tell you is my brothers thought it was wondrous. Thug-notes.com. I also listened to his Hamlet. I listened to Hamlet. Smart. He even had me thinking about things I'd never thought about what was really going on. And he had this interesting thing where he said Shakespeare pulls us, the reader or the viewer, in to the same mental state as Hamlet, and that throughout we cannot really make up our minds as to what is really happening and what I don't know. It's too smart. He's too smart. Sparky Sweets, PhD, man. You have got to check this out. Brilliant. And if you know anyone who loves literature, you gotta turn them on to this. Oh, my heavens. Okay, I think that's it. I don't want to forget that. And it's not like I came upon it because I'm out there trolling around. It's because I'm an old-fashioned person who happened to be reading the New York Times. And the New York Times did a story on him on Saturday, and by Neil Genslinger, and the headline is "Homies in Verona, Gangstas in Elsinore." Funny and smart. This guy has to have read and comprehended things and the classics in ways that most of us have. If you look at all the ones he already has done, geez, it's brilliant. Margaret writes, Daft Punk reminds me of Milli Vanilli.
What?
Jess doesn't agree. Jess says,
There's
what?
2 of them.
There's 2 of them. That's the only thing you see is similar. I think what I'm going to assume that what Margaret means is that it's going, that they're going to be found out at some point. I don't know. Chuck writes, Lynn, there's a singer-song. Oop. Hello, caller.
How you doing today?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
Good.
Good.
Did you happen to see on the History Channel, it's called Banned from the Bible, and these were books that were written before they established the Bible today. Some of the stuff's really comical. I mean, they have the life of Jesus when he was a little boy with Joseph and Mary, was in his carpenter shop with his dad, Joseph. And they would say, the one guy complained about his work or something, so Jesus made him blind. And then he gave his sight back. And the guy who was telling this, he said Jesus, before he had this power.
And he didn't
he had to use it the right way. He had to learn how to use it. He called him a divine brat, is what he called him. But it's so comical how some of the stuff that they would say about him growing up. Until he was like 10, then he realized he should use his power to help people. Then he planted one seed and the whole garden of, vegetables came. But it's amazing, these books that tells the life of Jesus when he was. You don't think of Jesus as 5 years old, you just don't.
Yeah, because they go from his birth to his, he's an adult, right?
Yes.
I mean, there's no. So are you saying these are books that existed before the
Bible, yeah, was established. But they're still in some of the cultures. They fit it in, a lot of this stuff. But our Bible isn't like that. It kind of leaves it out.
You know what, though? That's fascinating. So I guess whoever decided this is what Christianity is going to be didn't like the idea of even a 3 or 4 or 5-year-old Jesus being mischievous or mischievous and yes. Using his power for even if he did restore the guy's sight. I can see where they would think, oh, you can't have that. But, I love it.
Yeah, it's funny. Okay.
Thank you. Chuck writes, there's a singer-songwriter guitarist in California that shares my name with me, both first, middle, and last name. We're not related. I reached out to him a few years ago, and he sent me his latest CD. I feel he's living the life I was supposed to have. Aw, Chuck. But he responded. Why wouldn't you respond to somebody who reached out like that? That's why this other Lynn Cullen, maybe I should give her another shot because maybe she never saw it or something. I could write her now and say, hey, lady, you should have a lot more followers than you have because I got them. They think they're following you, but they're following me. I wonder if people who follow me and they think they're following her get really confused with what they see. Why would she be talking about, this and that? Because it has nothing to do with her novels. Dorothea says this, and yes, Dorothea is absolutely. Please remind everyone that our animals have never experienced this kind of weather either. Relieving themselves outside in 30 below while standing in the snow can be unbearable for some dogs. Obviously, there's some animals are smart enough to know they don't want to be out in that stuff. Some don't care. I mean, they can handle it. And it's true. Be careful. I think more than just leave them inside and very quick outdoors and back in. But remember, everybody's spreading salt all over the place. That salt is such an horrible, horrible irritant and gets in between, their paws and lodges in their, I don't know what those pads and stuff when they're walking. And then they lick it trying to get it out, and they're ingesting that stuff. So I think the most important thing is to wipe their feet. Make sure you got the salt off after you're back from a walk. And if your dog is amenable to such things, I've never had one, and will allow you to put little booties on his feet or her feet, I guess that's another way to deal with it. But this is literally weather not fit for man nor beast. And that's all I can say. And Dorothea thinks the best performance of the Grammys last night was the duet with Carole King and Sarah, I don't know how to pronounce her name. Bareilles. That was good. I didn't see absolutely the whole thing because at one point I thought, I think I should get in bed. That's what I thought. I thought, you're an old person, Cullen. You should get a good night's sleep. So there's all this huffing and puffing about this jerk gazillionaire who, poor guy, he wrote to the Wall Street Journal a letter, and they posted it. And he said, his name is Thomas Perkins, he compared the plight of the rich like him to the Holocaust, to Jews in the Holocaust. I'm not kidding you. He thinks that rich people are so put upon.
Oh my God.
Now, do you believe this?
No.
No, it's a serious, and the Wall Street Journal, they printed it. They printed it as if, yes, why, I think this guy has a really good point.
Oh my God.
Now, let me see if I can find, I don't have it. I can't, I would, he says that all of this criticism that is being leveled at rich people is not much different than the Nazis criticizing the Jews and trying to marginalize the Jews. And he compared, yes, the Jews in terms of percentage to the very rich like him, and that the mob was going to, come and kill them all, I guess. And he actually said that we're on the road to a progressive Kristallnacht. Kristallnacht, which is, of course, the night of the shattering glass when the mobs broke Jewish windows all over the place. And it was where you could see the future. That someone could be so out of it, so self-involved in his rich little bubble, that he feels attacked and threatened like a Jew in 1933 Germany. That is somebody who's... Paul Krugman takes a swipe at him in his column today. And he said, well, here you see it. I mean, the kind of extreme inequality we have in this country ends up creating a class of people who are just mind-blowingly detached from reality. So much so that they can, with a straight face and their paper of record, the Wall Street Journal, with a straight face, will publish this craziness, this self-involved, absurd craziness. And Krugman obviously goes on to say, I mean, what's scary about these people is they're detached from reality. They actually feel like victims. They're the ones we're supposed to feel sorry for right now. We're billionaires, and everybody hates us. And the mob, you see the mob? They're talking about us, and maybe they're going to come and take our stuff. But this is the kind of literal, enforced ignorance that, well, historically you see with Marie Antoinette and, let them eat cake. So I thought it was interesting the way Krugman ends his piece, and I will share that with you because he harkens back to something that actually Jared Day has talked about on this show with us, because Jared is a historian of this later period. And he once, I think, told us about the fact that FDR was attacked in the same vitriolic manner by Republicans in his tenure in the White House. The same kind of like crazed. And they didn't say he was a Kenyan, but they did say he was a Jew. It was one way. I mean, a whole bunch of people thought he was a Jew. And he was out to take all the rich people's money. Anyway, Krugman says this. It's impossible to read screeds like those of this gazillionaire Mr. Perkins without thinking of FDR's famous 1936 Madison Square Garden speech in which he spoke of the hatred that he faced from the forces of what he said were organized money. The hatred from that moneyed crowd. And FDR not only acknowledged it in that speech, but famously declared, "I welcome their hatred." Krugman says President Obama has not, unfortunately, done nearly as much as FDR to earn the hatred of the ultra-rich. The undeserving rich is what he calls them. But he has done more than many progressives give him credit for. And like FDR, both he and progressives in general should welcome that hatred because it's a sign that they must be doing something right. Anytime you get these rich folks cowering outside their panic rooms, thinking that their world is about to be taken from them, you must be doing something right. And what's amazing is it shows how easy it is to scare these jerks. I'm a victim! I'm a victim! I'm a multi-guy-zillionaire! And I'm a victim! Quick! Get my jet loaded! We've gotta, I don't know, travel to one of our homes! Get away from this one! Let's get a break in here. I'll be right back.
Stick around for more with Lynn Cullen Live after this.
Did you know that birthday parties help build confidence in kids?
Yeah. Did you know that giving kids less sugar before bedtime helps them sleep better?
Oh, totally. Did you know that friendly kids have more friends?
Everybody knows that.
Hey, guys, did you know that most people think they're using the right car seat for their kid, but they're not?
I didn't know that.
Parents who really know it all know for sure that their child is in the right car seat at the right age and size. Visit safercar.gov/the-right-seat to make sure your child is protected. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Happy New Year from the all-new BergBargains.com. Log on today for the best exclusive deals from your favorite local restaurants, bars, and shows. Sign up for the weekly email update for your chance to win a $100 gift card from this weekly spa. The all-new BergBargains.com, Pittsburgh's best bargains. BergBargains.com.
Have a question or an opinion? Call Lynn Cullen at 412-316-3381 or email lynn@pghcitypaper.com. Now, more with Lynn Cullen Live.
Okie doke. All right, Ronald. No need to rub it in. Ronald writes from Tampa. Temperature in Tampa is 66.
Tampa in Alaska.
Tampa and Alaska. That's right, Alaska was up there too. And he wants to know when I'm writing my next book. Oh, God. All right, what else we got? I'm afraid to even start talking about this because this is one of those things that can make me go into one of my uncontrolled rants where my voice will escalate into dog whistle territory. I didn't talk a lot about this story, talked about it a bit because it's a story that makes me so crazy. I don't think I'm capable of coherence. It is the story, now thankfully ending, of the pregnant woman in Texas whose family wanted to bury her, but the hospital refused. The hospital refused to unhook her, even though she was dead. She was brain dead, which is the definition of death. She was dead. But they wouldn't unhook her from the machinery that was keeping her heart beating, blood circulating. She was just a body. But she was a body that had a fetus in it. She was pregnant. And so, despite the fact that that fetus's father and this woman's husband and her parents and everybody who loved her kept saying, she's dead. Let her die. She's dead, not let her die. We want to bury her. And she was an EMT. She specifically, even though she's in her 30s, she was a young woman, she had made very clear that she did not ever want to be in the position that this hospital put her in. Two months. Can you imagine someone you love? They're dead. But they're being kept alive because some bureaucrats and legislators are trumping the request of the deceased about her own life and her husband, the guy with the legal power, to let her rest in peace. See, there's this law in Texas that prohibits a hospital from cutting off life support to a pregnant woman. But the way they won this case, because they went to court, and the way they won this case is they said, you can't cut off life support to someone who's already dead. You're keeping a dead person in some state of, I don't know, she's dead. That law applies to somebody who's on life support because they are still alive. Their brains show some function. I just cannot imagine a hospital thinking they can do that. And thank God the hospital was potentially going to prolong this by then appealing the judge's order, because the judge said, finally, disconnect that woman. But I think what did it is that ultrasound showed that the fetus would not have survived anyway. Had hydrocephal. I forgot how to pronounce that. Water on the brain. Heart problem, and they said the fetus's lower extremities were so deformed that they had no way of even telling what the gender of the child was. And yet, the busybodies in the pro-life movement, the busybodies go, keep it up, and they're writing in and saying, I will adopt this baby. I will take this child. Well, that's so good of them. It's interesting how their compassion for some life and their total lack of compassion and understanding for another. Well, I was with a woman. Speaking of, I didn't go on a rant. I don't think. I was with a woman yesterday who was reading a book, which it sounds like I should read and sounds like you should read too. And let me see. I wrote the name of it down. Maybe you've heard about it. She said this is a hot book among those who, I guess, read such serious stuff. I tend to. I feel like I read so many magazines and newspapers that I just don't necessarily. Anyway, there's a book by a ethicist, I think, named Jonathan Haidt, but spelled Haidt. And the book, if I've got this right, is called The Righteous Mind: Why Good People Differ About Politics and Religion. And just the title tells you, okay. And I'm sure some of us would say, you mean there are good people who disagree with me on politics? They're not evil? And this guy apparently writes this fascinating book, and in it talks about what he calls the moral matrix and how we're all born humans with a sense of, certain right things and wrong things, and how people who call themselves liberals or progressives focus on 2 or 3 of these. I think there's 7 things, 2 or 3 of them, and those are the ones we really, 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 really relate to. And they have to do with compassion, and they have to do with equality and things like that. But there are all these other possible things, too, that other people are more wired to care about. And I say no more because I have not even seen the book. I was just listening, but I like the title. I like somebody throwing out there to all of us the uncomfortable idea that righteous people can end up on both sides of this divide that we now all recognize. And obviously, if this guy is, if any of it resonates with us as we read it, it would seem it would have the potential, a book such as this. And I'm talking about, obviously, people from both sides reading this, so that a right-winger that we would, rip apart on this program, if they would read this book, they might have a few aha moments about, yeah. And I just think there should be more of that going on. I think as we try to disengage ourselves from the stalemate we're in, I think this would not be a bad idea myself. Hello?
Hello, Clarence from Canonsburg,
Claire.
calling more often than not.
I love it. Go ahead.
Jonathan Haidt. I used to pronounce it hate when I first saw it. But years ago, on theedge.org, that's how nerdy I am, and he wrote an essay talking about that subject. And when I read that, that's one of those enlightening moments for myself. Yeah. I went, oh, they're wired differently. People always say, I can't understand how these people think. I can't understand how these people think. And I went, oh, they're wired differently.
They're wired differently. And I mean,
that's right. You can't understand how they think.
Because
you literally can't.
Yeah, because you're wired differently.
Exactly.
But no one said that, the wiring, I mean, like, you got the good wiring as opposed to the bad wiring. And then a culture and experience can reinforce the wiring or challenge the wiring.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, your brains can be rewired.
Right.
But at birth, you're kind of wired differently.
Well, my friend was saying something like, it's like, there are people, if you think of it as like taste buds, some of us are drawn to don't mind a bitter taste or enjoy a bitter taste, or we like salt more. That's wiring stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
Although culture and what we've been given to eat can play with it. But you cannot, there's not like, oh, you don't like sweet things? That makes you a bad person.
Exactly.
But I can see where more ideologically hardwired people would find a book like this dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, and that's if you go to his Edge, he did a TED Talk too.
Yes.
He's all over the place. But
yeah.
if you look at the comments, and I like the Edge because these are other, scientists and psychologists, and I think Steven Pinker even argues with him on that point.
Okay.
And that's what really makes it interesting when you see these,
really
other people in similar fields, arguing with them.
Smart
and then
guys.
You tend to learn more.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, the Edge, because I don't read books like you were saying before. I don't really get to read a lot of books because I read so many magazines and articles and newspapers that I don't have the time. But the Edge is one of my favorite sites.
So you're saying theedge.org?
.org. I forget, a book publisher created it years ago. And that's all it is. It's a bunch of, super brains talking about subjects. And he normally during the year, the beginning of the year, he'll give them a topic, that everybody has to, comment on. It's really, really, really interesting.
Well, when I heard about this, I thought, okay, that does sound like something I need to read. And I said, maybe I could get him on my show. And my friend said, oh, I don't know. He's really hot.
Yeah, like I said, it might have been like 2010, something like that, maybe even 2009, when I read the one on the Republicans and the Republican brain and the Democratic brain, or liberal and the conservative brain. It was a while ago.
He teaches at the University of Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
and like I said, if you can't get him on the show and you're interested in him, you don't. And if you're, I don't know,
do the TED
if
Talk,
you're like washing dishes or something, or doing something else, he has videos out there talking about this stuff.
Oh,
that's how I tend. If I'm working, I listen as opposed to reading. So.
Great, thank you. You are. What's that word? What's the word of somebody?
Super nerd?
What? No. I'm blanking on a polymath.
I don't even know what that means.
I think that's what you are.
I'm a polymath? Is that like a parrot that does...
I don't... Polywana quacker? Maybe it's not polymath. What am I thinking of?
Well, I'm not actually a wordsmith,
Okay, but...
I'll look it up once we're off the phone.
Polyma... And I might be wrong. Okay, look it up, and if I inadvertently offended you, I'm sorry.
By the way... As I said, I don't even know what that means. I have a 10-year-old niece. I always throw like hard subjects at her in conversations, and she got that from me. She'll say, "I don't even know what that means."
Well, that's easily remedied, right? Look it up.
Oh yeah, I just sat down at my computer, and I'll just type it into a Google search, and
my son used
to get... A person whose expertise spans a significant number of different subject areas.
What is it? A person
whose expertise spans a significant number of different subject areas.
Okay, see.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
No, but there's another. It's not the term. Yes, that applies. But there's another one for somebody who's sort of self-taught. What is that? What is that word? That you just accumulate all this information all the time, and I forget. There's a word for that too, and I can't remember it.
I think it's nerd.
It is not because.
Wait a minute. I'm sorry. I know you were like overtime, but you got in late anyway. There used to be a commercial when I was a kid where the President Lincoln is going in for an interview.
Yeah.
And the guy says, "Oh, I see you don't have much experience." He says, "Well, I did a little studying, sort of on my own."
That's right. Yeah. See,
that's always been my thing.
That's right. So Lincoln, it's whatever that word is. We're sort of almost self-educated because you just gobble information up. And I don't know why I can't think of the word. I know it, but there's another word out there. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't gobble up that information, obviously.
Yeah. I do. I can't access it. It's in there. Goodbye, you.
Okay.
Stay warm. Bye. As for the rest of you, you stay warm, too. Ay. Bzzz, going down. See ya.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.